Before we get started with this lesson, I just want to let you know that I will give you a list of some of the most common custom audiences that you should build based on what you're trying to do with Facebook marketing, whether it's t-shirt sales or blogging or anything like that, growing your brand. So included in this video, look to the right and below, and I will include some helpful custom audiences that you should be building. Okay, time to get into the lesson. All right, so as I mentioned in a previous video, custom audiences are really the bread and butter of targeting on Facebook. In traditional advertising, what you get is maybe a keyword like in Google AdWords, and you're hoping if somebody types that keyword in, your ad shows up. But with Facebook, we can be a little bit more specific. So how we create custom audiences in Facebook is we go up to our main navigation tool, over here to Audiences, and you click Create Audience. So I'm just going to walk you through all these custom audiences and explain to you when you should use them. So to start, we'll go with custom audiences, and we get 4 choices. These are somewhat up to changing by Facebook standards, but for the most part, they will stay the same. So the first one, customer file. So how that works is, say you had a list of leads or previous customers, you can export that out of your CRM or your software and import them here based on a couple things. So what Facebook needs to identify them as being unique on Facebook is email. So if they have if they use the same email that you have on record form on Facebook, Facebook can obviously match them up. Phone number, first name, any of that kind of stuff. So the file needs to be a CSV, which you can export out of Excel, or a text file. You name the audience and upload it, and Facebook kind of takes care of the rest. So that is a customer file, and I'll talk a little bit more on that here in a minute. You will notice that you can import from Mailchimp as well. So where I spend most of my time is on the website traffic side of things. So here you select your pixel and you tell Facebook who you want to target, or who do you want to put in this custom audience. So anybody who has visited your website in the past 30 days, in the last day, in the last 3 days, it doesn't matter. But typically you want to have an audience that is for anybody who's been to your website within 1 to 5 days, so you can retarget them with an ad because you obviously know they're interested. And then I also would set up, a 30-day, 60-day ads or a custom audience to try and entice them back to your website. So how this is powerful though is you can select people who have been to specific pages. So maybe they've been to your shopping cart but not your confirmation page. And then you can actually even exclude people who maybe did make it to the confirmation page but didn't make it to setting up their account or something like that. So you can get in here and you can get really specific. It doesn't contain, it equals. It just depends on how your onboarding or your checkout process is set up. Some other things you can do is by time spent. So you can see if anybody's been on a blog post or your checkout page for more than 5 minutes. You can retarget them with an ad. And then you have some custom events. So when you are optimizing for a conversion, these pixels can be used to make a custom audience. So say you had a webinar, and when somebody signs up for the webinar, the complete registration pixel fires, you could create a custom audience of anybody who has completed that pixel in the last 7 days, had that pixel fire on them in the last 7 days. You can then, of course, name your audience. You can put a little description here about what the audience does, and that is pretty much it. The other thing that's kind of new is this engagement, and so this has to do with how people interact with your brand on Facebook. So you could do a audience of anyone who's watched 3 seconds, 10 seconds, 95% of your video. You will have to tell Facebook which video specifically you want that audience to build, and it can go ahead and do that. Some of the other more powerful things in the engagement custom audience, you can anybody who interacts with your Facebook page, so likes it, shares content, reads a post, opens a lead form but doesn't opt in. but doesn't submit the form, that's a great custom audience to build. So those are kind of the key engagement ones. Now, the other thing you'll notice when you can create audiences are lookalike audiences. So this is where Facebook takes a custom audience that you've previously built, and it will look for people on Facebook who are similar to that demographic. So for instance, you want to give it a location, unless your brand is not specific, and you could just say, United States. And down here, so audience size, so Facebook is going to ask, do you want them to be 1% in likeness, meaning they have a lot more in common, 2% in likeness, so maybe they don't have as much in common, and you'll notice obviously the numbers go up. I typically just set it to 1. You'll see that these numbers are pretty large. So the only time I would say going up to, these numbers 3 and 2 and 5 percentage points away from is if you're saturating your reach, meaning you're showing a bunch of ads and you need more traffic or more people, and you're willing to spend, $1,000 a day or a week or whatever, then it might make more sense. But if you're just getting started with Facebook, I would just start with the 1% here and then click create audience, and it will go ahead and create the lookalike audience for you. So you might be thinking, okay, great, these are cool, but how do I actually use them? So that is in the ad set part of your Facebook campaign. So I'll hop into one really quickly and show you kind of how you could use this. Okay. So for instance, I could hop into this campaign and edit the ad set to allow for a custom audience. Down here under audiences, you'll see custom audiences, and you can just start typing and find your newly created custom audience. So this one I just created the other day and doesn't have enough people in it to actually use it. I think Facebook requires, I think it's either 100 or 500 people to be in a custom audience before you can add it on. And one note here is if you're running small, demographics and small budgets, this probably isn't what you want to do, because Facebook will try and match up, people in, say, your small town and have been to your website in the last 30 days or whatever, which is going to be an even smaller subset. So if you wanted to retarget people who have been to your website, I would create a custom or its own ad set and have that custom audience live in its own ad set. So just a little tip there, but that is how you add on the custom audiences as well as the lookalike audiences. You'll see them all through here. So you can, exclude anybody who's purchased from you already or anything like that, or maybe hasn't filled out the lead form, but you'll see here again, it makes it too specific because I just created that custom audience the other day. So I will go ahead and get rid of that there.